If you need any visual guides or representation of just how the MAGA movement is right now, and it's just could be temporary, but we hope not, on the fritz, you can look no further than the humiliation J.D. Vance faced last night. Vance was headlining a Turning Points event. He was the top speaker, got the most billing last night. There are events that have been known to pack houses, to be filled to the brim with young MAGA faithfuls who you'd think might show up to see a sitting United States vice president, the heir apparent to Trump and Trumpism. But here's what J.D. Vance looked out and saw instead, a near empty arena. This video is from my colleague Jake Taylor, who was there. He estimates that the arena was less than 25% filled. And tickets were free, so that's not an impediment to attending. But Vance couldn't get anyone to show up. Now, this is not the first bad thing that's happened to J.D. Vance this week. He also used the appearance last night to breathe more air into Donald Trump's politically toxic war with the Pope. Here's the advice that J.D. Vance, who I think is the highest ranking Catholic in the federal government, certainly in the Trump administration, decided to offer the incredibly popular American Pope.
Now, we can, of course, have disagreements about whether this or that conflict is just, but I think that it's important, in the same way that it's important for the Vice President of the United States to be careful when I talk about matters of public policy. I think it's very, very important for the Pope to be careful when he talks about matters of theology.
I'm going to bring into our coverage political analyst Molly Jong-Fast. She's the host of Fast Politics and a New York Times contributing opinion writer. Mike Barnicle is still here with us. Mike, you were with us when, I think when Pope Leo began, when the world was first getting to know this Pope. This Pope is incredible. Even if you're not Catholic, I think you're heartened to hear him defend people with less power, people with less privilege, people with less money at this moment when it feels like everyone's fluffing up the richest and most privileged among us. It's also been heartening to hear him say things like, I'm not afraid of Donald Trump. I'm going to say what I believe, when you've seen the most powerful law firms and universities who should have all the standing in our society refuse to do what the Pope's doing. What I didn't think you'd see is J.D. Vance, who is young and has political ambitions, side with one of the most politically toxic things Donald Trump has done, and that is declare war on this Pope.
You know, I think J.D. Vance is smart enough now to have picked up all the negative signals he's getting thrown at him from the Oval Office. It's a setup. I mean, Trump doesn't want any Republican succeeding him. That's the best shot the Democrats have in the next presidential election. He doesn't want J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, anybody. No Republican can succeed him because he's a godlike creature in his own mind. And J.D. Vance going to Pakistan rather, and leaving in 22 hours. Oh, he didn't do the job. That'll be what Trump will say eventually. J.D. Vance picking on the Pope, saying things about the Pope. That goes to J.D. Vance, not Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump is gleeful at the failures of his sitting vice president.
Well, J.D. Vance is making it impossible to root for him. I mean, J.D. Vance had a different take. He gave a speech 6 months ago saying we need more God in the public square. And now he's chiding the Pope for talking about issues of morality.
Yeah, and it's not like the Pope was like Donald, he called out Donald Trump, right? He did eventually, but beginning this was about Trump, about the Pope talking about peace, right? And Trump was right, peace and more. Peace and more, that's what the Pope is famous for weighing in for. Like, this is not him wildly out of his lane. And that's why this sort of defense is so wrong, is because he really was talking about war and peace, things that are very much in the Pope's wheelhouse. What I think is super interesting, too, about Vance is you see Vance he has not been on the wings of victory here, right? Like, the whole week has really been a humiliation tour. So he tried to make peace in Iran. We knew that was probably going to be a disaster. That was, just a few hours and a failure. Then he went to see Viktor Orban and help him campaign. That was really looking like it was going to be a failure even before he came in there. But it was certainly, he did not arrive on the wings of victory, nor did he leave. And Orban was defeated. It's sort of a huge win for democracies and democratic norms, and a huge loss for really what J.D. Vance stands for and what he has hitched his brand to so strongly. So it was interesting to see this comes as a week of him just really kind of just plumbing the depths. And Donald Trump did, in fact, set him up for all these things.
Yeah. I mean, yes, Donald Trump set him up, but he's a person with agency. Mike, I think there's something about J.D. Vance calling Trump America's Hitler, the nastiest thing you can say about any living person, describing him as cultural heroin, and then subverting what we know to be his true belief about war in service of Donald Trump, who, as you said, sets him up to fail.
Yeah, do you think Donald Trump has forgotten what J.D. Vance called him several years ago? No. He's got it right up there in the front of his mind. The interesting thing to me about the way both Trump, I know why Trump is so upset about the Pope and gets so upset about the Pope, because Donald Trump, until Pope Leo became Pope, was the most famous American in the world and the most powerful American in the world. Now there's another one. And he's the Pope of the Holy Roman Catholic Church, 1.4 billion followers, faithful followers around the world. And he poses a threat in Donald Trump's, narcissistic mind to him, to Trump. And J.D. Vance, he can almost, but not quite, feel sorry for him because he's in the crosshairs of something that he has no control over, Trump's moods, Trump's anger, Trump's up and down whims. It's a tough position to be in. And the Pope's business is simple to define, and they don't know how to define it. Neither J.D. Vance clearly doesn't know how to define it. Trump certainly doesn't know how to define it. And it is this, to put simply, to care for the least among us, something that neither of those two men stand for, but the Pope does. And the Pope preaches it, and people hear what he says, and people believe what he says. And there's a Catholic church about a quarter of a mile from where I am now in New York City, St. Paul's over in Columbus Avenue. And I often go in there at noontime or 1 p.m. There's no official mass going on. It's just a place of comfort. Joe Biden used to do that. He would drop into a church just to sit and reflect. Not say the rosary, not listen to a mass, not to receive communion, just to sit and reflect on who you are, what life has given you, the gifts that life has given you, to remember all of that, to think about that, to think about your two children, Nicole, or my children, and all of what's going on today around us has, for the first time, when I sit there, made me worry about my grandchildren and the kind of country they're going to be gifted because of what we're enduring right now as a civilization.
Does the Pope give you comfort when you sit there?
I think about the Pope, in terms of, he's a Chicago guy. He's a White Sox fan. I think about him that way. Probably shouldn't, but that's the first thing that comes to my mind when I think about him. But I also think about what he's done with his life. I mean, he didn't have a big parish in Chicago or Detroit or anywhere else in the United States. He went to the fields in South America and lived and worked among poor people and helped poor people who were parishioners of his, who were Catholics and non-Catholics alike. And he never changed. And finally, Francis brought him to Rome. One thing led to another. And look now, he's the most viable opponent of Donald J. Trump that exists in the universe.